They call it La Serenissima, the most serene. But behind the postcard canals and pastel walls, Venice hides a pulse that never stopped beating. Founded by refugees fleeing barbarian invasions, Venice began as a humble refuge among muddy islands and shallow lagoons. For over 1,000 years, the Republic of Venice ruled the seas, its galleys rowed by 150 oarsmen. Its merchants trading spices, silk and salt, the true foundation of the state. This floating city was once the end of the Silk Road, where east met west and gold passed through hidden courtyards. By the 11th century, Venice was not just trading with empires, it was shaping them. Its shipyards at the Arsenal could produce a new warship every day. Its navy dominated the Adriatic. And during the Fourth Crusade, Venice shocked the world by sacking Constantinople, bringing back the relics of St. Mark and the 4 bronze horses that now crown the basilica. But power breeds enemies. Genoa, the Ottomans, even the Pope all tried to humble Venice. It lost battles, but it always rebuilt, through trade, through myth, through sheer defiance. Today, that spirit still lingers. In Piazza San Marco, tourists gather under golden mosaics of the Basilica di San Marco. They climb the Campanile for a view that stretches across red rooftops and glinting canals. They walk the echoing halls of the Doge's palace, then cross the Bridge of Sighs, where condemned men once glimpsed their last sky. On the water, gondolas drift beneath the Rialto Bridge and along the Grand Canal. Every turn reveals a forgotten palace, a hidden courtyard, or a quiet chapel where time still kneels. By afternoon, ferries glide toward Murano, where fire and glass become art. Or Burano, where fishermen's homes glow in impossible color. Locals serve risotto al nero di seppia, seafood pulled from the lagoon that morning, and cicchetti, small bites shared over laughter and chilled wine. Venice may no longer command fleets, but it commands something deeper. Wonder. This isn't a city to conquer, it's a city to surrender to. Rome is not a city that reveals herself all at once. She unfurls gradually, like an ancient scroll brushed open by time itself. Each alley, a verse. Each piazza, a stanza. And each ruin, a quiet reminder that the past here never truly disappears. Her foundation is myth, yet her influence is very real. Born from the legend of Romulus and Remus, twins raised by a she-wolf on the banks of the Tiber. Rome rose from muddy marshlands into the heart of an empire that would reach across 3 continents and rule the known world for centuries. To walk the Forum Romanum is to feel the weight of power beneath your feet, where senators debated beneath open skies and triumphal arches celebrated the glory of conquest. At the Colosseum, where time has etched its name into every stone, echoes of gladiators and emperors still linger. It remains not just a monument to spectacle, but to the human need for story, for survival, and for immortality. But even beyond the ruins, Rome continues to breathe in every living detail. The golden hour glows across the Spanish Steps, where locals gather with gelato in hand, musicians strum soft ballads, and lovers linger under the final warmth of day. At the Trevi Fountain, tourists line up not just to toss coins, but to make quiet promises that they'll return, that they'll dream, that they'll remember something of themselves they thought was lost. In the narrow lanes of Monte and the vibrant streets of Campo de' Fiori, the city's soul is heard in the clatter of market stalls, in the scent of tomatoes and basil, and in the laughter of generations who have lived in the same stone buildings for centuries. This is where the Roman spirit shines most, not in grand marble halls, but in the intimacy of daily life, in steaming plates of saltimbocca, in homemade tiramisu, in the careful hands folding ravioli in the back of a tiny trattoria. Religion here is not just belief, it's architecture, ritual, and rhythm. More than 900 churches stand across the Eternal City, each with its own voice. Some house masterpieces by Caravaggio, others contain only flickering candles and silence, yet all offer sanctuary. At San Giovanni in Laterano, the oldest basilica in the West, time feels suspended. At Santa Maria sopra Minerva, Michelangelo's Christ carries the weight of the cross and the weight of devotion with soft marble grace. And when night falls, Rome doesn't sleep. Instead, she glows softly, reverently, as if lit from within. The ruins are bathed in gold, the fountains whisper louder, and the city becomes a dream you don't want to wake from. High above northern Italy, where clouds drift like whispers over ancient stone, and the air tastes of pine and snow. The Alps begin, not with fanfare, but with a hush. There is no roar, no rush, only the soft breath of wind threading through fir trees, the distant chime of a cowbell echoing across a valley, the muffled crunch of footsteps pressing into frostbitten earth. In winter, the landscape becomes a sanctuary of silence. The mountains wrap themselves in a cathedral-white veil, and places like Courmayeur, Brie-Savigny, and the Dolomites awaken not with noise, but with reverence. Ski lifts ascend through layers of cloud, their passengers vanishing into a dream of ice and sky. Down below, skis carve graceful arcs in fresh powder, laughter softened by the snow, swallowed by the stillness of towering peaks. But summer speaks in a gentler, greener tongue. As the snow recedes, the valleys below erupt in wildflower color, and the meadows of Alpe di Siusi stretch wide and welcoming. The air is laced with the scent of sun-warmed grass and the distant promise of an approaching storm. Further down, in tranquil valleys like Trentino and Val di Funes, life slows into rhythm. Wooden chalets nestle into hillsides like memories that never left. Vineyards climb terraces in disciplined lines. Here, nature doesn't boast. It endures. Golden eagles drift on thermals overhead. Ibex tiptoe across impossible ridges. Marmots whistle from beneath the underbrush. Every sound, every moment feels intentional, chosen. This is not simply a place to visit. It's a cathedral, carved in snow, in stone, and in the sacred pause between one breath and the next. In Milan, style isn't stitched into fabric, it's woven into the city's soul. Welcome to Milan, not just a city, but a canvas where fashion, art, and culture converge into a symphony of elegance and expression. Here, every street corner whispers haute couture, and every building stands like a runway model, bold, refined, timeless. Milan is the beating heart of Italy's fashion industry, where global trends are born and the world's most celebrated designers craft legacies with thread and vision. From the legendary Quadrilatero della Moda, home to icons like Prada, Armani, to avant-garde boutiques tucked into historic courtyards, fashion here is more than commerce. It's identity. But Milan is more than just its runways. The Duomo di Milano rises in Gothic splendor, its intricate spires touching the sky like a crown of stone. Nearby, the Galleria Vittorio Emanuele II blends art and luxury, where shoppers walk beneath stained glass and ironwork like modern-day aristocrats. At Santa Maria delle Grazie, Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper captures a fleeting moment in fresco, mirroring Milan's paradox, a city racing toward the future while preserving the genius of the past. Yet the soul of Milan is found in its people, impeccably dressed locals, sipping espresso at sidewalk cafes, students sketching in Brera's bohemian quarters, artisans shaping leather, fabric, and dreams in tucked-away ateliers. Milan is not just seen, it's felt, it's worn. It's lived, and once you've stepped into its rhythm, you don't just leave with memories, you leave with Milan stitched into your story. Here, the mountains kiss the sea, and every curve of the coastline feels like it was sculpted by the gods. The Amalfi Coast is not just seen. It's breathed, tasted, and felt deep in your bones. Along this jagged edge of southern Italy, limestone cliffs plunge dramatically into the Tyrrhenian Sea, while serpentine roads wind past terraced lemon groves, wild rosemary, and towns suspended between earth and sky. The air is thick with sea salt and citrus, warmed by a Mediterranean sun that paints everything gold. The weather here shifts gently, never harsh, always inviting, wrapping the coast in a timeless summer haze. Swifts dart between cliffs and tiled rooftops. Tiny lizards scurry across stone walls. And in hidden coves below, anchovies shimmer in the shallows, netted by local fishermen who still rise with the tide. In Positano, pastel houses seem to tumble down the hillside, stacked like a watercolor dream. The beaches are narrow, pebbled, and sun-drenched, perfect for a swim in the calm cobalt sea or a sunset aperitivo with bare feet in the sand. Drive further and you'll find Ravello, perched high above the coast like a secret. Below, the fishing village of Matera wakes before dawn. Anchovy boats glide silently into the mist, and as the sun climbs, their catch becomes part of the coast's famous flavor. Even the architecture bends to the land. Domed churches, tiled staircases, and ceramic-covered fountains feel born from the rock itself. This is a coastline shaped not just by nature, but by generations who adapted to its beauty, not by conquering it, but by honoring it. The Amalfi Coast isn't simply picturesque. It's elemental, a place where sky, sea, and stone never stop moving, and yet, somehow, time stands still. At the heart of Rome, surrounded by ancient walls and the weight of millennia, stands a city so small you could walk across it in under an hour, and yet it holds the soul of 1 billion faithful. This is Vatican City, a sovereign state, yes, but more than that, a spiritual pulse point for the world. It was here, on this patch of sacred land, that St. Peter, the apostle and first bishop of Rome, was crucified and buried. The very foundation of the Basilica of St. Peter rests above his tomb, not just as a tribute, but as a declaration that from martyrdom, a church would rise. The basilica itself is a marvel of devotion carved into stone. Designed by the greatest architects of the Renaissance, Bramante, Raphael, Michelangelo, its massive dome dominates the Roman skyline, a celestial eye watching over the eternal city. Inside, La Pietà weeps in marble silence, Michelangelo's masterpiece of Mary cradling the broken body of Christ, eternal in sorrow, eternal in grace. But beyond the grand architecture, Vatican City is alive with rituals, legends, and hidden corridors where history and myth intertwine. Every morning, as the sun spills over St. Peter's Square, the faithful gather not for spectacle, but for solace. From above, the square resembles a keyhole, symbolic, perhaps, of opening heaven's gate, while Bernini's colonnades stretch like the arms of the church, embracing all who enter, saint or sinner. Behind closed doors lies a deeper mystery, the Apostolic Palace, home to the Pope, the world's only absolute monarch, a man in white who speaks from balconies and governs with prayer. Yet Vatican City is not just a relic. It is a paradox, a place of ancient ritual and modern relevance. It houses the Vatican Library, where over 1 million books rest, some so old they predate entire empires, and its secret archives contain centuries of papal letters, treaties, and sacred decrees, locked away from public view. Even its Swiss guards, dressed in flamboyant Renaissance uniforms, carry out a legacy that began in 1506 under Pope Julius II. Here, faith is not just an idea, it is a geography. And every stone, every painting, every ritual is infused with the longing of generations to connect, to understand, to belong. In a world fractured by noise and speed, Vatican City stands still, not in resistance, but in remembrance. That silence can be sacred. That belief can be built into brick. And that sometimes, in the smallest places, we find the largest truths. Naples doesn't unfold, it detonates. It grabs you by the collar, pulls you through its vortex of noise and beauty, grime and grandeur. One moment you're blinded by sunlight bouncing off peeling frescoes. The next, you're ducking into a shadowy crypt older than memory. Above ground, it's riotous, facades bleeding ochre and rust. Vespers shrieking down alleys strung with laundry like carnival flags. And below, another world entirely. Roman roads, ancient markets, ghostly taverns. Naples is a city built atop itself, past lives layered like sediment. Down there, the silence is thick, sacred, eerie. You feel time pressing in. Nothing here stays still. Empires came and went, Greeks, Romans, Spaniards, French. Leaving behind fortresses like Castel Nuovo, part war machine, part marble dream. Inside chapels, angels recline on tombs, stone blood frozen mid-drip, Rossellino, Malvito. Artists who carved serenity into chaos. But serenity shatters quickly. Baroque Naples screams, it moans. Veiled sculptures seem to breathe in San Severo. Art doesn't hang on walls. It surrounds you, confronts you, climbs up from the floor like a whisper or a warning. Naples isn't just a city. It's the birthplace of one of the world's most beloved dishes, pizza. Here, in the bustling quarters of southern Italy, the modern pizza was born, not in royal kitchens, but in the hands of the working class. In the 18th and 19th centuries, Naples streets echoed with the sounds of vendors selling flatbreads topped with simple ingredients, crushed tomatoes, garlic, lard, anchovies. It was fast, affordable, and full of flavor, a meal for the people. But everything changed in 1889. When Queen Margherita of Savoy visited Naples, the city's most renowned pizzaiolo, Raffaele Esposito, created a pie in her honor. He used tomatoes, mozzarella, and basil, red, white, and green, the colors of the Italian flag. Thus was born the Pizza Margherita, a culinary ode to national pride, and a legend that would circle the globe. Today, pizza is everywhere, reimagined in New York, folded in Rome, baked in Tokyo, but Naples remains its sacred ground. Here, in the heart of the Quartieri Spagnoli, or the historic Via dei Tribunali, pizzaioli still shape dough by hand, stoke wood-fired ovens, and guard secret tomato sauces passed down for generations. Every bite tells a story of resilience, creativity, and the unbreakable bond between food and identity. In Naples, pizza isn't just a dish, it's a ritual, a point of pride, and a reminder that sometimes the most powerful traditions are born not from luxury, but from necessity, community, and love. Where volcanoes burn and temples rise, where every dish tells a story, Sicily is not a destination, it's a living soul. Sicily, the largest island in the Mediterranean, is a realm where myth and memory intertwine. From the smoldering summit of Mount Etna to the quiet stone alleys of ancient towns, the land pulses with drama, beauty, and untold stories. Here, landscapes are epic. Craggy coastlines meet turquoise seas. Golden temples lie scattered across fields of wild fennel. And inland mountains shelter time-worn villages untouched by the rush of the modern world. But it is the people who carry the soul of Sicily. Warm, expressive, and fiercely proud, Sicilians embody a culture shaped by conquest and resistance, hospitality and faith. Their identity is layered: Greek, Arab, Norman, Spanish, and yet wholly their own. Their gestures speak as loudly as words, and their traditions are not relics, but rituals of everyday life. In bustling markets, like Palermo's Vucciria, voices rise in song-like barter as locals shop for swordfish, wild herbs, and lemons so fragrant they perfume the air. This is the Sicily of street food and Sunday feasts, where arancini, cannoli, and pasta alla norma are not just recipes, but heirlooms passed through generations. Faith is visible in every procession, every shrine tucked into a crumbling wall, every bell tower that chimes the hour in towns where time seems to pause. Sicilian culture is a celebration of survival, of community, of beauty in imperfection. Music echoes through its festivals, from the brass bands of St. Agatha to folk songs sung in dialects older than Italy itself. Dance, poetry, and puppet theatre honor traditions rooted in centuries of storytelling. And above all, there is pride, quiet, sometimes defiant, in being Sicilian. A pride in the land, in the flavors, in the faces that echo ancient marbles. In Sicily, history does not lie dormant in ruins. It lives in the rhythm of daily life, in the clink of wine glasses, in the laughter around a family table, in the starlit silence above Greek temples. This is Sicily, elemental, eternal, unforgettable. At the edge of a rugged ravine in southern Italy, Matera reveals itself layer by layer, stone on stone, story on story. Once dismissed as the shame of Italy, its caves echoed the lives of the dispossessed. By the 1970s, the city lay nearly abandoned. Then a revival began. Now, in the honey-colored tuff of the Sassi, ancient homes, rock-hewn churches, and modern boutique hotels share the same walls. In the morning light, you wander through Sasso Cavioso and Sasso Barisano, where families lived with animals, children played in narrow stairways, and the air held the scent of wood fire and bread baking. Descend into a Casa Grotta museum, and the past feels alive. Tiny terraces, low ceilings, carved-out rooms. In the afternoon, you cross into the wild limestone of the Murgia Materana National Park, where caves open into history and wind whistles through wild thyme and time-blushed rock. Visit the crypt of Original Sin, its frescoes painted in candlelight centuries ago, and feel how belief was built into rock. Evening brings transformation. Lamps flicker to life, staircases glow pink gold, piazzas hum with music and cocktails poured in caverns. Matera's people, descendants of its dwellers, bold and generous, guide visitors through their city with pride. They serve Lucanian black pork, pour deep red wine, share stories of survival and renewal. This is not just a trip. It's a journey through time carved into stone. Matera is ancient yet revived, humble yet grand, silent yet singing with life. It's one of Italy's most extraordinary cities, a place you carry with you long after you've left. From silence carved in stone to a city that leans into legend, welcome to Pisa. But to stop there would be to miss the true heart of this city, a place layered with history, art, and quiet elegance that stretches far beyond the lean. Within the emerald lawns of the Piazza dei Miracoli, Pisa slowly unveils its legacy. Yes, the Leaning Tower draws the eye first. It always does. But look around and you'll discover a symphony of stone, the Grand Duomo, the circular baptistery, and a monumental cemetery holding centuries of memory beneath its cloisters. Each structure is carved not just from marble, but from reverence and time. Step into the cathedral, the Duomo di Pisa, and you're stepping into the 11th century. The alternating bands of grey and white marble aren't just decorative, they echo the wealth and power of a city that once rivaled maritime empires. Just behind the cathedral, the baptistery stands, rounded, layered, serene. Its two domes rise together, creating acoustics so perfect that a single voice can fill the space with harmony. At the Museo dell'Opera del Duomo, treasures once exposed to wind and rain now rest in stillness. Ivory Madonnas, fragments of frescoes, and the silent gaze of saints preserved in stone. Step into the courtyard, and the Leaning Tower greets you once more, not as a spectacle this time, but as a quiet part of a larger story. If you're drawn to lesser-known paths, the Museo Nazionale di San Matteo awaits, an under-visited gem housing centuries of sacred art. Venture further into the Camposanto, Pisa's sacred cemetery born from Crusader dreams. Its walls once held vast frescoes until war brought fire and silence. But Pisa is not only the keeper of the past. It is a city alive with sound and scent, from the bustling market at Piazza delle Vettovaglie to trattorias tucked beneath old archways, where every dish carries the memory of Tuscan tradition. Save a cecina, the humble chickpea pancake, or end with a slice of torta cobisceri, a dessert rich with chocolate, pine nuts, and the flavor of celebration. Follow the Arno to Marina di Pisa, where the city breathes toward the sea. Here, the land offers its own kind of treasure, subtle, earthy, and unforgettable. Pisa is more than a leaning tower. It is a city rooted in stone, and yet ever reaching forward. It invites you not only to visit, but to feel, to step gently through its history, to hear the echo in the breeze, and to carry its story long after the tower fades from view. Tuscany does not demand attention with loud proclamations, but rather unveils itself in gradual, gentle stages. It opens like the first morning light spilling across ancient terracotta tiles, and like the soft curve of a hillside rising to meet the endless sky. This is a land that speaks in quiet whispers, heard in the gentle sway of silver-leaved olive trees, and felt in the profound silence between vineyard rows. At dusk, the countryside glows with a golden light that seems to emanate not just from the sun, but from centuries of devoted care and cultivation. Here, time moves differently, drifting like a slow river through the days. Shepherds guide their flocks across tranquil meadows, while ancient stone towns rest on hilltops, wrapped in a deep, contemplative silence. In places like Cortona and Volterra, people gather along weathered stone walls to watch the day release its final breath of light. The distant toll of a bell echoes through valleys as evening breezes carry the scent of wild rosemary and freshly baked bread, making every moment linger in the memory. Artisans smooth marble with practiced hands and paint frescoes on still damp plaster. The modern world exists here, but it never dares to rush the sacred pace of daily life that has continued for generations. Tuscany moves to a rhythm of return rather than urgency, the return of sun over vineyards, the return of festival music in starlit piazzas, and the return of footsteps on cobblestone streets that echo with ancient stories. The sky above stretches wide and unhurried, where clouds drift like slow thoughts and birds trace soft arcs against the blue. In this profound quiet, even the silence feels substantial, filled with the presence of life deeply rooted in this land. More than just a destination, Tuscany is a slow embrace for the soul, a landscape shaped by time and devotion, where one doesn't need to search for meaning, but simply to breathe and be present in the timeless beauty that surrounds them. Italy is more than a place on a map. It's a living museum, a tasting menu of centuries, a symphony composed in stone, sea, and soul. From the snow-dusted hush of the Alps to the golden quiet of Tuscany's fields, from Naples' fierce, beating heart to the quiet reverence of Vatican City, each region becomes a verse in a poem that continues to unfold. Its beauty lies not only in what the eyes can see, but in the feelings it stirs deep within, the weight of ancient history beneath your feet, the comfort of a meal shared in good company, the echo of footsteps in a street where time never fully moved on. This is a country where faith is etched into domes and bell towers, where struggle gives rise to art, and where every coastline, every glass of wine tells a story, not of running away, but of coming home. And so, Italy lingers, in the scent of basil still on your hands, in the hush that hangs in frescoed chapels, in the lean of a tower, the ripple of a gondola, the worn stone of a piazza touched by dusk. You don't just pass through Italy, you are shaped by it. And long after your journey ends, it remains as a whisper, a flavor, a light that never truly fades.